is where good writing becomes great.
It's taking that first draft, which, let's be honest, is rarely perfect.
Oh, never perfect.
Right. And you got to be willing to shape it, mold it, make it shine.
And it's more than just fixing typos and grammar, though those are important too.
Of course. But you got to look at the big picture, the flow, the structure. Do your arguments make sense?
Yeah, it's being your own toughest critic.
Sometimes you got to be willing to kill your darlings, cut whole sections, rearrange paragraphs, maybe even start over.
Starting over sounds brutal, but sometimes it's got to be done.
Totally agree. Okay, what's rule number 7?
This one might not sound as exciting as, like, crafting a plot twist, but it's crucial. Mind your grammar and style.
Right, the nuts and bolts of good writing.
Exactly. The source actually recommends using style guides, like the Chicago Manual of Style.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that one. Okay.
It can be, but think of it this way. A consistent style makes your work look professional and, not confusing to read.
I get that. It's like having all your ducks in a row. Makes it easier for the reader to follow your message.
Exactly. Now, on to rule number 8. This one's all about getting feedback.
Feedback, oh man, that can be tough to hear sometimes.
It can be, but the source emphasizes how valuable it is. We can get so close to our own writing we miss things.
Yeah, totally. It's like you need a fresh pair of eyes to catch those awkward sentences or unclear ideas.
The source recommends finding trusted readers, people who'll give you honest feedback, the kind that helps you grow.
It's like having a writing coach in your corner, someone who can push you to be better.
And, this feedback thing, it goes way beyond just writing.
Oh, for sure. Think about any field, music, sports, business, you name it. Getting feedback is how we learn and improve.
Truth. Okay, moving on to rule number 9. Establish a writing routine.
Ooh, routine. I need more of that in my life.
Don't we all? But the source makes this great point about consistency. Even setting aside a little bit of time each day, it can make a huge difference.
Like just showing up, even if it's only for 15 minutes.
Exactly. It's about building that writing muscle. The source even compares it to brushing.
I like that. We don't think twice about brushing our teeth every day. Why should writing be any different?
Right. And find what works for you. Morning person, write then. Night owl, write then. The key is to make it a habit.
Habit, got it. Okay, what's rule number 10? Hit me with it.
This one is embrace the power of editing.
Editing, that's where the real magic happens, right?
For sure. The source talks about how a professional editor can really elevate your work. They bring that fresh perspective, catch those little errors we might miss, and really refine the flow and impact.
Yeah, like polishing a diamond.
Yeah.
Makes it sparkle.
Now, I know not everyone has access to a professional editor,
Okay.
but the principle still applies. Take that extra step to polish your work. Read it out loud, ask a friend to look it over, even use those online grammar tools.
It's about presenting your best work, putting your best foot forward, right?
Absolutely. And you know what pairs well with editing? Reading. Rule number 11 is all about reading widely and deeply.
Reading. My favorite pastime. What writer doesn't love to read?
Right. And the source really emphasizes reading outside of your comfort zone, too.
Ooh, I like that challenge. Branch out, explore different styles, different genres.
Exactly. You never know what's going to spark an idea or teach you a new technique. It's like cross-training for your brain.
Love that analogy. Okay, so we've read, we've edited. What's the final rule?
All right, the last one is stay resilient.
Ooh, resilience. That's a big one, especially in the writing world.
It is. The source acknowledges that the writing journey, it's filled with rejections, critiques, and, setbacks.
It's tough out there for a writer. Rejection is part of the game, but it doesn't mean you're not good enough.
Exactly. And the source really emphasizes learning to separate your ego from your work.
Yeah, that's key. It's not always personal. Sometimes a piece just isn't the right fit, or maybe it needs more work.
It's about having that grit, that determination to keep going, keep learning, keep improving.
And believing in yourself, even when it feels tough.
The source actually shares this bonus tip that ties in perfectly with resilience. Write for impact, not perfection.
Impact, not perfection. I like that. It's so easy to get caught up in trying to make everything perfect.
I know, right? It can really stifle creativity.
The source encourages us to shift our focus. Ask ourselves, what impact do we want to make with this piece? What story are we trying to tell? What message do we want to share?
Powerful questions. So instead of getting bogged down in perfectionism, we should be thinking about the heart of our writing, the purpose behind it.
Exactly. And sometimes that imperfection, that rawness, that's what really connects with readers.
It's like sometimes those rough edges, they make the writing feel more real, more human.
Totally. It's like
Yeah.
connect with the vulnerability.
Absolutely. So, for our listener out there, what's a good starting point when it comes to thinking about the impact they want to make?
Hmm. Well, maybe they could think about a piece of writing that really resonated with them. Something that moved them or made them laugh or taught them something new.
Oh, I like that. Sort of like reverse engineering the impact.
Exactly. And then they can ask themselves, what is it about this piece that works so well? What can I learn from this and use in my own writing?
That's a great exercise. Sometimes it helps to study the writers we love and see what techniques they're using.
For sure. And remember, impact doesn't have to be like on a global scale.
That's a good point.
Sometimes the most powerful writing is about those small personal moments.
Yeah, sharing a story that touches someone's heart, or even like a well-written joke that brightens their day.
Exactly. It all counts.
It's a good reminder that every piece we write, no matter how small, it has the potential to connect with someone, make a difference.
And that's pretty amazing when you think about it.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive into these 12 rules, what's one key takeaway you'd want our listeners to remember?
I'd say just write. Don't let the fear of judgment or rejection hold you back.
Oh, I love that. Just go for it.
Exactly. Embrace the process, play with language, have fun with it.
And remember, these rules are a guide, not a rule book.
Right. Find what works for you, break the rules when you need to, just keep writing.
Couldn't have said it better myself. The world needs your stories, your poems, your essays, even your emails.
Yes. Every piece of writing is a chance to express yourself, connect with others, and leave your mark on the world.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive. Hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, happy writing, everyone.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We always get tons of questions about turning a single book idea into a whole series, so today we're diving into that.
Yeah, sounds fun.
We're checking out this guide, How to Turn Your Book Idea into a Viral Series by Mafala Media Publications.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that one.
It's got tips for everyone, whether you've written a bunch of books or just starting out. So get ready, because we're going to unlock those secrets to literary success.
Okay, so first things first, right?
Yeah.
Book series, they're interesting because they're good for readers and authors both. Readers get more stories with characters and worlds that they already love.
Right. And as an author, you get to build up this fan base.
Yes, exactly.
You get way more exposure, and your sales can really grow over time, especially if you have a few books out.
And it's not just the authors. Publishers really like them too. They get consistent content. They get the sustained interest.
It's like that snowball effect. Each book kind of builds on the one before it.
Yeah, definitely.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, how do we even pick the right genre for a series that could go viral?
Okay, so not every genre is going to work as a multi-book saga, right?
Okay, yeah, I get that.
This guide has a few that do really well in today's market.
Okay, so what are they talking about?
YA is a big one. It gets at those universal themes, growing up, relationships, finding your place, all that.
So you're saying no matter how old we are, we can connect with those coming-of-age stories.
Yeah, and it makes sense that people want to keep reading to see how the characters grow over multiple books.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
What about fantasy and science fiction? Do they have that same potential to, go viral?
Oh, totally. I mean, think about it. In those genres, you can create whole worlds. It's perfect for escapism.
Yeah.
And those stories can stretch out over lots of books.
Yeah, the world building alone could keep a series going.
For sure.
Okay, now what about thriller and mystery? Do those have the same kind of draw?
No doubt. Those series, they thrive on those crazy plot twists. The stakes get higher and higher.
And of course, you can't forget those cliffhangers.
Exactly. It's like a puzzle spread out over a bunch of books, and you just got to know what happens.
Oh, man. Talking about cliffhangers, I still haven't gotten over insert popular book series with a cliffhanger ending.
Yeah.
But we can't forget about romance.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Love stories are so universal, right?
Right.
Series in that genre often give you the chance to see the characters' relationships change over time. What's your take on that? Have you ever gotten sucked into a series because of the romance?
Hmm. Yeah, I think engaging the reader is really important, and connecting with the character's journey is a big part of that.
Yeah, definitely.
While we're talking about genres that could go viral, we can't leave out self-help and business.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They give practical advice and tools for self-improvement, which readers are always looking for.
Right. It's all about giving them something valuable, something that makes them want to keep coming back for more.
Exactly.
So it all comes back to choosing the right genre.
Right.
You got to understand what's trending in the market and find that perfect spot where your book idea fits in with genres that have a history of doing well.
For sure. So we've got the genre figured out. Now let's get into the real meat of it. Structuring your series so it has the biggest impact. This is where this guide really shines. It gives you a plan to build a great story over a bunch of books.
Okay, structuring a whole series, that sounds kind of scary. Where do we even start?
Well, the guide, it really pushes having a solid foundation. You got to figure out that big overarching story that runs through all the books. It's the backbone of your story, you know?
So it's like you're weaving this huge tapestry, and each little thread makes this big, complicated picture.
Exactly. You need that big story arc to keep readers hooked for the whole series. It could be this epic battle, good versus evil, or a character who changes in a huge way, or some mystery that takes several books to solve.
I get the big picture, but how do you balance that with each book having its own plot?
That's where those episodic storylines come in. Each book needs its own story, a beginning, a middle, and an end. Think of them like chapters in the bigger story.
So each book feels complete on its own, but it's still moving the whole series forward.
Exactly. And to keep readers really wanting more, the guide suggests using those cliffhangers. Ending a book with unresolved tension just makes them desperate to see what happens next.
Cliffhangers are awesome. But let's not forget world building and character development, especially in genres like fantasy or sci-fi.
Right. Consistency is key when you're world building, especially in those genres. You need those detailed rules, the geography, the lore. It all has to feel real.
Like if there's magic in your fantasy world, it can't just be unlimited power.
Yeah, gotta have limitations, consequences, otherwise the world doesn't feel real.
It's about creating a world that's so believable, it feels like you can just step right in.
Totally.
Now, how important are characters when you're structuring a series?
If you're writing something that's not genre fiction, having characters that grow throughout the series is crucial. They gotta learn and change from what happens to them. Like, think about Elizabeth Bennet from Pride and Prejudice. She totally changes because of all the stuff she goes through.
Readers really latch onto those changes. It makes the characters feel real.
Speaking of keeping readers engaged, let's switch gears to marketing. How do we get those books seen? What does the guide say about that?
It all comes down to having a great launch strategy.
Yeah.
You got to get people excited even before the first book is out. Pre-orders are great for generating buzz.
So like offering signed copies or extra chapters to people who pre-order.
Yeah, those kinds of things can really work. And don't forget about social media, teasers, behind-the-scenes stuff. Give readers a peek into that world you made. It's like, think about how some authors use Instagram to show character sketches or share snippets of dialogue.
It's all about pulling back the curtain and letting readers in a little. Yep. And branding is so important for your series. A good logo, consistent colors, a catchy tagline, these can really help your series stand out.
Yeah, it's like creating a visual signature that people recognize right away. But once the book's out there, how do you keep that momentum going?
Reader reviews. Those positive reviews are so powerful, especially on sites like Amazon and Goodreads.
They're like little recommendations from people who share your taste in books.
Exactly. And never underestimate word of mouth. Encourage readers to tell their friends and make spaces where they can talk about your books, book clubs, online forums, stuff like that.
It's like a big virtual book club.
For sure.
So once you've got a series going, how do you keep those readers coming back for more?
Consistency. That's what the guide stresses. Set a release schedule and stick to it. Quarterly, every 6 months, yearly, whatever works for you.
It's like a train running on time. Readers know when to expect the next part of the journey.
Exactly. And talking to your readers directly can make a big difference. Respond to their comments, answer their questions. Shows you care,
It's about making readers feel like they're a part of the process.
Right. As a series gets more popular, think about stuff like audiobooks or even merchandise. Those things can broaden your reach.
It's all about creating a whole experience around the books.
Totally. It helps you stay organized, too.
Makes sense. It's like, readers know what to expect.
Yeah.
But how else can authors connect with their readers, aside from just putting books out regularly.
Talking to them directly can really make a difference. Answering their questions, responding to their comments, it shows you're listening.
Like a two-way conversation instead of just talking at them.
Right. And once the series gets going, you might want to think about things like audiobooks.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
It's a good way to reach people who like listening to their books.
For sure.
And you could even think about merchandise, character-themed stuff, maybe special edition covers, things like that. It's a nice way to give back to your fans.
That's like building a whole world around the books, not just the story itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, a series lives or dies by its stories.
Right, of course.
What's the final advice for people who want to write a series?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
It says don't lose sight of your own vision. Write what you're passionate about, Those stories that just keep you up at night thinking about them, that passion, it'll show, and readers will connect with it.
So it's about finding that thing that makes your series unique.
Yeah, exactly.
So turning a book idea into a viral series, it takes work. You got to plan, you got to be dedicated, and you got to really connect with your readers.
Definitely. But if you do it right and you bring that creativity, it can be so rewarding. And the biggest thing is just to start.
This deep dive has given you the map. Now grab a pen and paper or open up that laptop and start writing. What stories are waiting to be told? What worlds are you going to build? We want to see what you come up with. Happy writing, everyone. Okay, we all say don't judge a book by its cover.
Right.
But really, come on, that cover, that's the first thing we see.
Yeah.
It's that first impression. And today we're going a deep dive into crafting those book covers.
Mm-hmm.
Not just ones that look stunning, but ones that actually help us sell more copies.
That's the goal.
Yeah. You've poured your heart into this book, all this creativity, and now you're ready to share it with the world. What's that very first thing a reader sees?
The cover.
The cover. It's like having the silent salesperson working for you 24/7.
It's so true. And it really is fascinating how much more a book cover is than just, how it looks.
Yeah.
To be really effective, to understand your audience, the psychology of the reader, and it has to reflect what your story is really about.
So much goes into it. The guide we're looking at really emphasizes knowing your audience.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a bit more about that? Why is that so important? And how does knowing your audience change how you actually design the cover?
Well, just imagine for a second that you're in a bookstore, right? And you're looking at all these covers. The cover that grabs a young adult who loves fantasy, it's going to look very different from a cover that someone would pick up if they're, say, looking for like a business book, a strategy guide.
Oh, totally.
Even the fonts would be different. Like that fantasy cover might have big, bold lettering, kind of whimsical even, but a business book, you'd probably see something sleek and modern.
Yeah, like picking the right outfit. You wouldn't wear a ball gown to, I don't know, a business meeting.
Exactly.
So true. The guide also mentions market research.
Yeah.
How can authors, I guess, go beyond just looking at bestseller lists to really understand what makes a cover work?
Well, it's not just about, copying what's popular, right? It's about understanding why those covers are successful. What are they doing visually that works? What emotions are they tapping into? Think about it like if you were writing a cozy mystery, right? And you see all these bestsellers, those covers, they all have cats on them and teacups and these warm colors, there's probably a reason for that.
Yeah.
They've tapped into that aesthetic that the readers are looking for.
It makes you want to curl up with a cup of tea and a good book.
Exactly.
So it's about spotting those patterns, figuring out what's working,
Yeah.
and understanding the psychology behind it all.
Exactly.
Okay, but what about people like me? I'm no design guru.
Right.
But the guide mentions some tools that are supposed to be pretty user-friendly, like Canva, there's BookBrush, there's Adobe Express, and GIMP.
Yep.
What are they like? Can you break them down for us a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. Canva, it's amazing for beginners. Super easy to use. It's all drag and drop. They have all these templates already made for you. So even if you've never designed anything in your life, you can still make something that looks really professional.
That's great. It can feel really intimidating, to design your own cover. So
Yeah.
that's encouraging.
Totally. Now, if you're okay with a bit of a learning curve, GIMP is really powerful. It's free software, and it gives you a lot of control.
Okay.
And then there's BookBrush. It's got this super cool feature where you can actually see what your cover would look like on a 3D book. Really helpful.
Wow. So many choices. Okay, so let's say we've picked our design tool. We're feeling creative. We're ready to go. What are the must-have elements on every book cover? What can't we forget?
Well, the guide breaks it down really well. You need the title, of course, the subtitle, name, imagery, the color scheme, and, for print books, don't forget the spine and the back cover.
Right.
Each part, it's got a job to do, attracting readers and getting that message across.
Okay, let's break that down a little bit. Let's start with the title and the subtitle.
Right.
What should we be thinking about when we're picking our fonts and deciding how to lay everything out?
Well, first things first, it has to be legible.
Right. People have to be able to read it.
Exactly. You want a font that fits your genre, but it also has to be super clear and easy to read. And think about how most people see books online these days, those little thumbnails.
Yeah.
That tiny image is often the first thing people see.
Sure.
So a thriller title,
Yeah.
you might want to use a really bold font, something that makes an impact,
Like what?
like Impact or Roboto Slab.
No, okay.
Something that creates a sense of suspense. But a romance novel, you'd probably go with a more flowing, elegant script.
Makes sense.
Hmm.
It's amazing how much personality a font can have. I've definitely been drawn to a book just because of the font on the cover. Has that ever happened to you?
Oh, yeah, totally.
What about you listeners? Has that ever happened to you? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear about it.
And then you've got the imagery, right? This is where you can really showcase what your book is about, what the mood is.
The guide really stresses using high-quality images that fit the genre. You can't just throw any old picture on there. You can't have a generic sunset photo on a historical fiction novel that's set in, I don't know, ancient Rome.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't work.
You're totally right. It needs to be something evocative, something that fits the story. Like that historical fiction cover, it might have architectural details or clothing from that time period. And a fantasy novel, you might see mythical creatures or these amazing landscapes.
It's about painting a picture, right?
Yeah, a visual picture that makes people curious and draws them in.
Now, what about the back cover and the spine, especially for print books? Why are they so important?
Well, think about it. The spine, it's like your book's billboard on a bookshelf.
Okay.
It's got to stand out, grab people's attention so they want to pick it up. And the back cover, that's your chance to hook them with a great blurb, tell them a little about the author, and put in those awesome reviews if you have them.
Yeah, it's like the book's resume.
Exactly.
Showing off its best qualities.
And then there's color. Color psychology, it's so important. Colors, they have such a powerful effect on us,
Definitely.
how we feel. And the colors you pick for your cover, they can make a huge difference.
The guide goes into this in detail. It talks about how blue, it often makes people think of trust, like a sense of calm. And red's all about passion and intensity. It's amazing how colors can influence us without us even realizing it.
It's true. I mean, think about it. Would you ever pick up a mystery novel if it had a cover that was bright yellow and super cheerful?
I don't know, maybe. But you're right, it doesn't quite fit, does it?
Not really. You got to match those colors to the mood of the book, the genre.
Yeah, it's like setting the mood with lighting, right?
Exactly.
You wouldn't use the same lighting for a horror movie as you would for a romantic comedy. So, how can authors figure out what colors work best for their book? Are there, rules they can follow or resources to check out?
Yeah, there are some basic, associations, like we said. blue for trust, red for passion. But you really have to understand, like, what your story is about, what feelings you want to evoke in the reader.
Okay.
So, like, a dark thriller, you'd probably go with darker colors, something intense.
Hmm.
But for a light romantic story, you might pick softer colors, pastels, that kind of thing.
Makes sense. You want that visual harmony between the colors and what the story's all about. Now, the guide also mentions these things called templates, especially important if you're using Amazon KDP.
Uh-huh.
So what are templates exactly? And why do we need them?
Okay, templates, they're basically like pre-made layouts, and they make sure that your cover meets all the requirements for printing and, when you're selling online.
Okay.
They have all these guidelines for stuff like the trim size, the bleed area, safe zones, all the technical things that most of us don't even think about. But they're really important if you want your cover to look good, both when it's printed and online.
So even if you don't know a lot about design, using a template can help you avoid some of those mistakes.
Totally.
Speaking of mistakes, the guide talks a lot about testing your cover design.
Yeah.
Getting feedback before you finalize it. Have you ever, shown a design to someone and they gave you feedback that totally changed how you saw it?
Oh, all the time.
Right. It's so easy to get stuck in your own head when you're working on something.
Yeah. Fresh eyes, it's so helpful.
The guide mentions this platform, PickFu, for getting feedback. How does that work?
Oh, PickFood's great. You can get feedback really quickly, and it's unbiased. Basically, you upload your cover designs, and then they show them to a bunch of potential readers, and you can ask specific questions like which cover is more eye-catching or which one best fits the genre. It's like having your own little focus group, but just for your cover.
That's amazing. Takes all the guesswork out of it.
Yeah.
Now, what about just using social media or like those author groups to get feedback?
Those are great, too. Social media, you can connect directly with the people you want to read your book,
Yeah.
And author groups, those are full of writers who understand how important a good cover is. And they can give you really helpful advice.
It's like having this whole community of people, cheering you on and giving you honest feedback. Now, sometimes, the guide says, even if we try our best, we might just need to bring in a professional.
Yeah, sometimes.
When would you say it's time to, hire a designer?
Well, if you've tried designing your own cover
Yeah.
and you're just not happy with it, or maybe you just don't have the time or you don't really want to learn all the design stuff, hiring a professional can be an idea. And there are so many talented designers out there. You can find them on Fiverr, Upwork, 99 Designs.
Yeah, it's like having a stylist for your book. What's the most important thing to do when you're looking for a designer? And you want to make sure that working together goes well.
You have to give them a really clear brief. Basically, it's a document that tells them what you want your cover to look like, the genre, who you're trying to reach, maybe some examples of covers you really like, and anything specific you want, like colors or fonts or images.
So it's all about communicating clearly and finding a designer who really gets what you're going for. Now, the guide also talks about some common mistakes that people make when they're designing a book cover.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of those, and how can we avoid them?
Okay, one of the biggest ones, trying to cram too much onto the cover.
Okay, yeah.
Too many elements, too much going on. Simplicity is key. You don't want to overwhelm people with too much visual noise,
Yeah, it gets confusing, right? Like you're trying to say too much at once and the message gets lost.
Totally. Another big mistake is using low-quality images.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Your cover has to look sharp and professional, whether it's online or printed. If you use blurry pictures or images that are all pixelated, it makes your book look amateurish.
Yeah, it's like showing up to a job interview in a wrinkled shirt. Not a good look.
Exactly. And you can't forget about those thumbnails. Most people are going to see your book online first as a tiny thumbnail on Amazon or somewhere else.
Right.
So your cover has to be readable and look good, even when it's really small.
Oh, that's so true. You have to make sure people can still read the title and see the author's name. What about staying on brand? Why is that important when you're designing a cover?
Your cover, it should reflect the overall tone and message of your book. You wouldn't want a cover that's dark and edgy if your story is a lighthearted romance.
Yeah, that wouldn't make sense.
You want to be consistent.
It's about having a clear identity, right? Something that resonates with your audience.
Exactly. You don't want your cover to promise one thing and then the book is totally different. And this brings up something really interesting, something a lot of people don't think about enough. The emotional impact of a book cover.
Yeah, that feeling you get.
Have you ever seen a cover and it just instantly made you feel something, like a memory or an emotion?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I remember when I first saw the cover of The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. It was all dark with these swirling images, and it just made me feel this sense of mystery. I knew I had to read that book.
That's what a good cover does. It hooks you.
What about our listeners? Have you ever seen a book cover that had that kind of impact on you? Tell us about it in the comments. We'd love to hear your stories.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? How a cover can just pull you in like that.
Totally. Like a portal to another world before you even open the book.
Exactly. Speaking of being pulled in, let's talk about visual storytelling for a bit.
Okay.
How can we use the cover, to give readers a taste of what the story's about?
Without giving the whole thing away, right?
Right, exactly. It's a tricky balance. Like, think about a movie trailer. They want to get you excited, make you curious, but they don't want to spoil the whole movie. A good book cover, it does the same thing. It uses symbols, the way things are arranged, even the empty space, to create that intrigue.
Can you give us an example, like something
Yes,
specific?
sir. Imagine, like, a single figure standing against a stormy sky.
Okay, I can see it.
You instantly get that feeling of mystery, maybe some danger. Or what about a couple looking into each other's eyes with this warm, golden light around them?
Yeah, that's totally different.
Right. That one's all about intimacy, romance, that connection.
It's like planting a seed, right, in the reader's mind. That little bit of curiosity that makes them want to keep reading.
Exactly. And don't forget about typography, the fonts you use. They're a big part of visual storytelling, too.
Because fonts have personality, too.
They absolutely do. Like a really bold sans serif font, something like Helvetica or Futura. Those fonts, they can feel strong, modern, maybe even urgent, but a delicate script. That could be elegant, romantic, maybe hinting at a historical setting.
It's like picking the right voice for a narrator. The font sets the tone right away.
That's a great way to put it. The guide, it actually recommends trying out different font combinations to find ones that work well together and, really support what the story is all about.
So it's not just about picking a font you like. It's about finding the font that best story.
Exactly.
But of course, it has to be readable, no matter what.
Absolutely. I mean, you can have the most beautiful design in the world, but if people can't read the title or see who wrote the book...
It defeats the whole purpose.
Exactly. The cover's failed. The guide also talks a lot about testing your cover with your audience.
Yeah, makes sense.
Even if you really love your design, it's so important to get that feedback.
Why?
Because what we think looks great, it might not work for the people we want to read our book. You need to hear from them, see how they react to the cover.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What emotions does it evoke for them? Does it clearly show what genre the book is? What the theme is?
Like doing a test screening for a movie.
Exactly.
Right.
You want to see how the audience responds before you release it to the world.
Yeah.
So how do you test a book cover?
Yeah, how do you do that?
Well, we talked about PickFu, right? And using social media, those author groups, you can also just share it with friends, family, anyone who fits your target audience.
Get those different perspectives.
Yeah, and remember, even if you've hired a professional designer, your opinion still matters.
Definitely.
It's your book, your story. Don't be afraid to speak up. Make sure the final design is something you're happy with.
As we're wrapping up this deep dive, I keep thinking about how a really great book cover, it's so much more than just a nice image. It's like the essence of the story all wrapped up in this visual package. It's an invitation, to kind of explore.
It really is. And it shows just how powerful creativity can be, how much thoughtful design can achieve.
It's about grabbing that heart of the story and like translating it into something visual, something that speaks to people on that emotional level.
That's it, exactly.
This has been an awesome journey, exploring this whole world of book cover design. We've talked about understanding your audience, using color psychology, even mastering that visual storytelling.
So much good stuff.
What are some of the key things you hope our listeners will take away from this?
I'd say know your audience, do your research, experiment, don't be afraid to try new things. Get feedback, lots of it, and most importantly, have fun with it.
Yeah.
Creating a book cover, it should be a joyful process.
A celebration of the story you've created.
Exactly.
Well said. And to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it helpful and maybe even inspiring. If you have any thoughts or experiences you want to share, any questions about book cover design, let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you.
Until next time, happy reading, everyone.
All right, deep divers, get your gear ready because we're going deep on book launches today. Specifically, we're looking at how pre-orders can make or break your success.
Absolutely. We're going beyond the basics.
We're dissecting a fantastic piece from Malala Media Publications called How to Use Pre-Orders to Boost Your Book's Launch Success. Trust me, you'll want to take notes.
If you're even thinking about publishing, this could be your secret weapon.
No doubt about it.
Mm.
So let's jump right in. Why are pre-orders so crucial? What's the big deal?
Well, think of it like this. You know how a rocket needs fuel for a successful launch?
Yeah, got to get that thrust.
Exactly. Pre-orders are that initial thrust. They build momentum, show the market your book is worth the wait.
So it's more than just those early sales.
Oh, for sure. Think about it. It's a vote of confidence. Early numbers can boost you onto bestseller lists, attract media, even influence those tricky algorithms on platforms like Amazon.
It's a chain reaction, really.
Precisely. A chain reaction for success.
Now, I know Amazon KDP lets you set up pre-orders, but are there other platforms authors should consider?
Definitely. Don't limit yourself. Places like Draft2 Digital can get your book into a wider range of retailers. You know, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Apple Books.
Expanding your reach?
Exactly. You're tapping into different reader demographics, reaching a wider audience.
Smart move. So you've chosen your platforms, right? How do you make irresistible, especially to someone browsing months before the release date?
Your book listing, it's like your storefront window. It needs to be captivating.
Got to draw those readers in.
A killer hook, a strong cover image, a clear message of what makes your book unique.
What's that one thing readers will take away? What problem does it solve?
Exactly, your craft narrative. About it, what would make you click that pre-order button?
That's a great question for our listeners. Have you ever pre-ordered a book based solely on its listing? Let us know. What hooked you?
We'd love to hear your experiences. And hey, to really entice those early birds, think about pre-order bonuses. Sweeten the deal.
Oh, I love bonuses. Spill the tea. What kind of bonuses really work?
Think exclusive content, early chapters, bonus scenes, even author commentary. Behind-the-scenes peeks, character sketches, deleted scenes.
Oh, that's cool. It's like getting a VIP pass.
You got it. It makes readers feel like they're part of something special.
But what about nonfiction books? Are there bonus strategies that work particularly well for those?
Absolutely. Downloadable workbooks, templates, checklists, even live Q&A sessions or webinars. You know, create an experience beyond the book itself.
It's like you're not just reading a book, you're joining a community.
That's the idea, fostering a connection before they even open the book.
I'm hooked. All right, so we have enticing listings and irresistible bonuses. But how do you get the word out? How do you get those pre-orders rolling in?
Your marketing plan. And social media, that's your megaphone, sneak peeks of the cover, teasing those bonuses, countdown timers to create urgency.
Oh yeah, those countdown timers. Don't miss out. This offer's ending soon.
Right, it taps into that fear of missing out, encourages action. And remember, engage. Ask questions, respond to comments, run contests or giveaways.
Build excitement. So what are some creative social media campaigns you've seen that really stand out?
Well, I saw this author, they created a series of short videos. Each one revealed a little bit of the book cover, like little pieces.
Clever.
It created so much buzz. People were commenting, sharing, tagging, organic engagement at its best.
It's about creating a story, a journey that keeps people coming. What about you, listeners? Have you seen any clever pre-order campaigns? Share your thoughts in the comments.
We love insights.
So social media, it's a powerful tool, but it's not the only one, right?
Definitely not. Email marketing can be incredibly... This is where segmentation comes in. Tailoring your message to different groups based on their interests.
So not just blasting a generic email to everyone.
Maybe your super fans get behind-the-scenes glimpses, while new readers get a special welcome discount on their first pre-order.
It's like a personalized invitation. I've totally pre-ordered a book or two from a well-crafted email from an author I love.
You get it. It's about that community feeling.
Speaking of community, what about collaborating with other authors or influencers in your genre?
Creations are gold. Guest posts, joint interviews, social media takeovers, anything that gets you in front of new audiences who already trust your partner.
It's like borrowing credibility.
Yeah.
Have you ever collaborated with other authors? What was that like?
I recently did a multi-author giveaway. We each offered a signed copy of our latest books. It was a great way to cross-promote, and we saw a huge in pre-orders.
Synergy. Combining forces. What about you, listeners? Any collaboration stories? Share them in the comments.
They love to hear about your successes.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. Compelling listings, enticing bonuses, spreading the word through social media, email, and collaborations. Pre-orders aren't just about sales, are they?
Absolutely not. They're the foundation for long-term success.
Building your credibility, connecting with your audience, generating that buzz that can launch your book to new heights.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
But the journey doesn't end there, does it? What happens after you hit that publish button? How do you turn those pre-orders into lasting success? Stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive. We'll be right back.
All right, welcome back, deep divers. I hope you're ready to dive into some data because today we're talking about measuring the success of your pre-order campaign.
Ooh, data. I love data. I'm all about those data-driven decisions.
Right. But I get it. Analytics can be a little overwhelming, especially for authors who, might be more comfortable with words than spreadsheets.
It can feel a bit intimidating sometimes, yeah.
But think of it this way. Analytics, they're like a treasure map, guiding you to the best strategies.
Okay, I like that, a treasure map. So what are the key metrics we should be tracking, to make sure our pre-order campaign is on point?
Well, first and foremost, keep a close eye on those pre-order numbers.
Makes sense. That's the big one, right?
Exactly. It's your baseline, show the direct impact of your marketing efforts.
So if those numbers are climbing, you're doing something right. But how do you driving those pre-order?
That's where tracking your traffic comes in.
So like where are people coming from?
Exactly. Are they clicking from your social media posts? Are your email blasts converting into buyers? You got to know what's working, what needs tweaking.
Connecting the dots, seeing how people go from, hey, what's this book, to click pre-order.
You got it. And here's where it gets really interesting, conversion rates.
Okay, about those.
This tells you how well you're turning those views and clicks into actual pre-orders.
So it's not enough just to get people to see your book. You got to get them to take action.
Exactly. If you have tons of traffic but low conversion, maybe you need to revisit your message or your calls to action.
Like, is it easy to pre-order? Is the value of the book clear?
All those things. Now, full disclosure, I'm a bit of a spreadsheet nerd.
Oh, me too. I love a good spreadsheet.
Right. But not everyone's like us. Any advice for authors who might feel, well, a little intimidated by all this data?
Good question, because it can feel like a lot.
It can. But there are tons of tools out there that simplify things.
Oh, good. Like what?
Well, Canva, for example, has built-in analytics for social media.
Oh, yeah, I love Canva.
And email platforms like MailChimp, they give you detailed reports on open rates, click-throughs, conversions.
So you don't need to be a data scientist to figure this stuff out.
Not at all. Find the tools that work for you and focus on those key insights.
The things that actually tell you something, right?
Right.
And it's cool because you can experiment.
Exactly.
You might think one campaign will be a hit, but the data might tell a different story.
It's all about adapting and adjusting based on real feedback.
Data-driven decisions. Now let's talk about the human side of pre-orders.
Okay, I like it.
Those early supporters, the ones who believe in your work and hit that pre-order button, they deserve some love, don't they?
Absolutely. A simple thank you email after launch. It goes such a long way in building loyalty.
It's like, hey, thanks for taking a chance on me.
Exactly. And get further, offer exclusive content to those who pre-ordered, maybe a deleted scene, a bonus chapter, even a sneak peek at your next project.
It's like a little reward for their early support.
Exactly, like VIPs, And personalize it. Even a thank you for your support on social media can make someone feel seen.
Building those connections one interaction at a time.
That's it. So what are some other ways to keep that momentum going after launch?
Well, I was thinking about online events like Q&A sessions, virtual book clubs, maybe even writing workshops.
I love those.
It's a chance to actually interact, answer questions, get feedback.
Creating a dialogue. And don't forget reviews. Encourage your readers to leave honest reviews on Amazon, Goodreads.
Oh yeah, those are crucial.
Positive reviews, they can be so influential, especially readers discovering your book.
It's social proof, right? Like, hey, other people love this book. Maybe I will too.
Exactly. And remember, it's not just about those 5-star reviews. Constructive criticism is valuable too.
It's how you grow, right? You learn from every experience.
Absolutely. What about you, listeners? Have you ever left a review for a book that really resonated with you? What made you do it? Share your thoughts in the comments.
We're always eager to hear your stories.
We learn so much from experiences. So as we wrap up this part on analytics and engagement, I want to emphasize this is ongoing.
It's not just a one-time thing.
Nope. It's not just about tracking during pre-orders. It's about carrying these principles forward, throughout your whole author journey.
Building a sustainable career, not just focusing on the short term.
Exactly. Use the data, engage with your readers, keep refining your approach.
And that's something we can all do, whether we're seasoned authors or just starting out.
Now, in part 3 of our deep dive, we're going to explore the crucial steps you can take after your book launches to keep that momentum going, to build lasting success. So stick around. We'll be right back.
All right, bookworms, welcome back. We're in the final stretch of our deep dive into pre-orders. And I gotta say, my brain is buzzing with ideas. I'm ready to revamp my whole launch strategy.
I love it. That's what we want. But remember, it doesn't end when your book goes live.
Right. It's just the beginning.
Exactly. So what are the key things authors should do after launch to make sure those pre-orders turn into lasting success?
Yeah, how do we keep that momentum going?
Think of it like this. You've spent all this time, weeks, months, in building excitement, creating a community around your book.
Getting everyone hyped.
Right. Now it's time to nurture that connection, keep those readers engaged.
So how do we do that?
Well, start with gratitude. Those who pre-ordered, they believed in you before anyone else.
Took a chance on you.
Exactly. A genuine thank you email can make a huge difference in building that loyalty.
It shows you care.
And remember, actions speak louder than words. Offer something exclusive to those who pre-ordered, a deleted scene, a bonus chapter, maybe a sneak peek at your next project.
Ooh, I love sneak peeks. It's like a little reward for being an early supporter.
Exactly. Make them feel special and personalize it. A simple thank you for your support on social media can make someone's day.
It's all about those connections, right?
That's it. Building relationships one interaction at a time.
So what else can we do to keep that post-launch energy going?
Well, online events are fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Like what? Q&A sessions, virtual book clubs, writing workshops.
Oh, cool.
It's a chance to interact directly with your readers, answer questions, get feedback.
You're creating a two-way street of conversation.
I love that.
Wow.
And don't underestimate the power of reviews. Encourage your readers to leave honest reviews on Amazon, Goodreads, those places.
Reviews are so important.
They really are. Positive reviews can be incredibly influential, especially for new readers who are just discovering your work.
They're like, should I read this? Oh, look, everyone else loved it.
Exactly. And remember, it's not just about the 5-star reviews. Constructive criticism can be valuable too.
It helps you grow as an author.
For sure. What about you, listener? Left a review for a book that really resonated with you. What made you do it? Tell us about it in the comments.
We love hearing your story.
From your experiences. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to back to something we've touched on throughout this whole conversation.
What's that?
Pre-orders, they're about so many sales numbers.
They're about building a community, right?
Exactly. It's about fostering a connection, creating an experience that goes the book itself.
It's about building a tribe of readers who are excited about your work and want to come along for the ride.
That's what I really want you to take away from this. Pre-orders, they're a powerful tool, but their real power is in creating lasting connections and building a foundation.
So it's not just about launching a book, it's about launching a career, a community, a legacy.
You nailed it.
Wow, we covered a lot of ground today. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling inspired, ready to put all these amazing tips into action.
That's fantastic. And remember, this is just the beginning. There's always more to learn, more to explore, more to create.
So keep diving deep, keep those creative sparks flying. Until next time, happy reading. Happy reading.
See you soon.
All right, so we're diving into something pretty exciting today. Turning your passion, not just into a book, but into a whole series.
Series, yeah.
And we're basing this deep dive on this awesome guide, how to turn your passion into a profitable book series.
Yeah.
And, it's got some serious valuable insights, even if you're not necessarily an aspiring author.
Oh, absolutely. It's packed with advice on everything from finding your niche to building a loyal fan base and even, diversifying beyond just the traditional, book format.
Yeah, so first, finding that sweet spot,
Yeah.
where your passion meets market demand.
Yeah.
The guide mentioned popular examples like self-help, sci-fi and romance. Ultimately, it's about finding what truly excites you.
Right.
And what readers are actually looking for. What's your take on this? Have you ever spotted a gap in the market for books that you'd love to read?
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments.
Yeah. So I think that's such a great point. The guide really emphasizes the importance of research. It's not enough to just be passionate about something. You have to understand the existing landscape. Like, are there already tons of books on that topic?
Right.
Is there a unique
Yeah.
that research can be the difference between a successful series and one that just kind of gets lost?
Absolutely. So let's say you've done your research, you found your niche. Now it's time to, build a series concept that readers run. And the guide talks about the importance of consistent themes and relatable characters, especially, for fiction. Think of it like your favorite TV show, right?
Yeah.
You keep coming back for the characters, A&D, the overarching storyline.
Exactly. The guide actually uses the example of a mystery series. Each book might feature a new case.
Right.
But the detective's personality, their quirks, their relationships, those are the things that keep readers invested,
Yeah.
in the long haul. And then for nonfiction, it's about creating a series where each book kind of builds upon the last, offering a new layer of insight or perspective on the central theme.
Here's where things get really interesting. The guide delves into the power of cliffhangers.
Yeah.
And they talk about strategically placing them to keep readers on the edge of their seats, desperate for the next installment.
Yeah.
Think about a book that really hooked. What was it about the ending that left you wanting more? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your examples.
Yeah, what's fascinating here is the guide. It breaks down the anatomy of an effective cliffhanger. It's not just about ending on a suspenseful note.
Right.
It's about raising new questions, introducing new threats, or leaving the reader with this sense of unease, right? They use the example of the Hunger Games trilogy.
Oh, good one. Yeah.
Each book ends with Katniss facing a seemingly insurmountable obstacle. So you have to pick up the next book
We have to, yeah.
to see how she's going to survive.
Exactly. And speaking of keeping readers engaged, the guide also talks about interweaving storylines, especially for nonfiction series. Each book might tackle a different aspect of the main theme, but they're all, interconnected, creating this satisfying sense of a larger narrative unfolding.
It's like piecing together a puzzle, where each book reveals a new piece of the bigger picture.
Oh, I like that.
They give the example of a series on personal finance.
Okay.
One book might focus on budgeting, another on investing, another on retirement planning. Each book can stand alone, but together they form this comprehensive guide.
Yeah, I see. Okay, so we've got our killer concept. We've hooked our readers with cliffhangers and interwoven storylines. And now it's time to get down to the nitty-gritty, like the planning and the writing. And, the guide is all about outlining, setting realistic deadlines, and breaking the project into manageable chunks. It even suggests using, project management tools like Trello or Scrivener, which is a fantastic for ANY project, not just writing.
Absolutely. Whether you're writing a novel or planning a home renovation, having a clear roadmap and breaking it down into smaller steps can make a really daunting task feel much more manageable. What's your approach to tackling big projects? Do you map everything out in detail?
I try to. I'm a big planner.
Okay, yeah.
So I try to.
Some people like to be more flexible. Let us know your thoughts in the comments.
All right, so we've got our plan. Now it's time to think about, how are we going to present this series to the world? That's where visual branding comes in. It's about creating a cohesive look and feel for the series, from the cover design to the typography to, the overall vibe.
It's about grabbing attention, making your book stand out, whether it's on a shelf or, in an online marketplace. So think about it. When you're browsing for a new book, what draws you in? Is it the color scheme, the font, the imagery? All of those elements, they contribute to a book's visual branding. In this guide, it stresses the importance of consistency, across the whole series.
So let's break down what visual branding actually means. We're talking about professional cover design.
Yeah.
Using high-quality images, choosing a font that reflects the tone and genre. It's about creating a visual identity that's both, appealing to your target audience,
Right.
and instantly recognizable.
Yeah, they give a great example of a fantasy series. Imagine like covers with rich, jewel-toned colors, intricate illustrations, and a font that like evokes a sense of magic
Yeah.
and adventure. All those elements work together.
And that brings us to the sometimes intimidating world of SEO, search engine optimization. Now, I know that sounds technical, but the guide breaks it down in a way that's pretty easy to understand. It's all about using keywords, categories, compelling descriptions
Yeah.
to help your books get discovered online.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Think about it. When you're searching for a book online, what do you type into that search bar?
Yeah.
Are you looking for specific topics, authors, genres? Those are keywords.
Oh,
And the guide really emphasizes using those relevant keywords in your book's title, description, and even in the categories that you choose when you're publishing.
so it's like strategically planting little digital breadcrumbs that lead readers right to your amazing series. But have you ever thought about how you discover new books?
Mhm.
Do you actively search? Or do you browse categories? Maybe you rely on recommendations from friends or influencers. Share your process in the comments. We're genuinely curious.
Yeah. So we left off talking about SEO, right? Using those keywords to make sure your books are, discoverable online. It's great to write an awesome series, but it won't gain any traction if no one can find it.
Right, totally. But let's say readers HEV found your book, maybe through that perfect keyword search, or a friend recommended it. How do we turn those readers into loyal fans who like eagerly await each new installment?
Well, I think that's where the real magic happens, right? The guide really emphasizes the importance of nurturing those relationships with your readers,
Yeah.
going beyond just, publishing the book.
Hmm.
So think newsletters, social media engagement, even creating online reader groups or forums.
Oh, I love that. Building a community like around your series.
Exactly.
Yeah, the guide even suggests offering exclusive content or like behind-the-scenes glimpses
Yeah.
to make those fans feel like they're part of something special. What kind of author interaction would make you feel more connected to a series? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, because building that connection can make all the difference. Now, each new book in a series is a big event. You can't just release it into the world and hope for the best. The guide digs into some really savvy marketing strategies to build buzz and drive sales.
Like pre-orders.
Yes.
I always get so excited when I get a pre-order book that I'm anticipating.
Yeah.
Do you think pre-orders are genuinely effective in building that anticipation and like driving those early sales?
I think they can be incredibly effective when they're done right. It's a way for readers to kind of show their commitment to the series, secure their copy as soon as it's released. The guide also mentions bundling as a clever tactic,
Oh, yeah.
offering like the chance to purchase the entire series at a discounted price.
Bundles are dangerous for my wallet,
I know.
but they're brilliant for boosting sales, introducing new readers to those earlier books.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're creating this irresistible package. And speaking of reaching new audiences, the guide also suggests collaborating with like bloggers and influencers to spread the word.
Yeah, collaborations can be incredibly powerful. Imagine your favorite book blogger, raving about your series to their followers. That's huge.
That's huge here.
But you have to be strategic about those partnerships. The guide really emphasizes finding influencers whose audience aligns with your target demographic. It's about reaching the right readers, not just the most readers.
Right. Speaking of reaching the right readers, have you ever been swayed by a book recommendation from an influencer or blogger? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, for sure.
We're always fascinated to hear how people discover new books.
I know I have. A good recommendation can make all the difference. But
Yeah.
let's shift gears for a moment. We've been talking a lot about, the traditional book format. But this guide gets really exciting when it starts exploring ways to diversify your series beyond just the printed page.
Yeah, beyond the book.
Exactly.
Think audiobooks, merchandise, even courses and workshops. It's about taking your passion and expanding it into new, innovative formats. What are your thoughts on audiobooks? Do you think they enhance the reading experience, or are they like a completely separate form of entertainment?
Oh, that's such a great question. Audiobooks have exploded in popularity, and for good reason. They, make books accessible to people who might not have the time to sit down and read,
Right.
and they can add a whole new dimension to the story, with narration and sound effects.
Right. The guide uses the example of a thriller series.
Oh, yeah.
Like, imagine listening to those suspenseful scenes with a heart-pounding soundtrack.
Yeah.
It just takes the experience to a whole new level.
Totally, totally. And then there's merchandise. I'm
Yeah.
a sucker for like a good book-themed mug or T-shirt.
No.
The guide talks about the potential of merchandise, especially for fiction series. Imagine having T-shirts with your favorite character quotes or mugs with the series logo. It's a fun way for fans to show their love and generate a little additional revenue.
Absolutely. It's about creating a whole world around your series. And the guide, it encourages authors to think even bigger. What about courses
Oh, wow. Yeah.
or workshops? Based on the content of your series. Like if you've written, a self-improvement series, why not offer a workshop to help readers put those principles into practice? Oh, that's a fantastic idea. It's
Cool.
taking your expertise, to the next level,
Yeah.
creating that deeper connection with your audience. If you were creating a series, what unique extras would you offer to your readers? Let us know. Let us know your creative ideas in the comments.
Yeah, I think that's a great question to ponder. The final part of our deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, from identifying your niche, crafting that compelling series concept to, marketing those books and exploring new avenues beyond the traditional format.
We've explored, the journey of turning your passion into a profitable series. So tune for part 3, where we'll wrap up with some key takeaways and leave you with a final, thought-provoking question. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive.
So,
Turning your passion into a profitable book series. We've covered so much from like the initial spark of an idea to like crafting a compelling series, marketing it effectively. We even touched upon those exciting ways to expand beyond the book itself.
yeah, it's been a fascinating journey, hasn't it? What really stood out to me throughout this guide is the emphasis on not just creating, but like building a sustainable business around your passion. It's about, approaching your creative work with both enthusiasm and a strategic mindset.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's not just about writing a good book, right? It's about understanding your audience, building those relationships with readers, and offering them real value that goes beyond just the words on the page.
And this guide, it repeatedly highlights the importance of, planning, research, and understanding the market. It's about finding that sweet spot where, your passion intersects with what readers are actually looking for.
Yeah, and what I found really interesting too is how it encourages us to think outside the box, explore those unconventional avenues like we talked about, audiobooks, merchandise, even workshops or online courses. It's about finding creative ways to engage your audience, share your passion on a deeper level.
And what I find truly inspiring is that these principles, they can be applied to any project where you're looking to share your passion with the world. It might not be a book series. It could be a podcast, a blog, an online community, or even, a small business built around your unique skills and interests.
Yeah, it's about identifying that spark of inspiration and then channeling your energy and creativity into making it a reality, taking those initial steps, doing the research, connecting with your audience, and finding those innovative ways to share your passion.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with one final thought-provoking question. What passion are you ready to turn into something amazing? What impact do you want to make on the world?
We'd love to hear your dreams, your aspirations, your ideas down in the comments. Who knows, maybe the next time we do a deep dive, it'll be inspired by one of your incredible ideas.
Keep learning, keep creating, and never stop sharing your passion with the world. Thanks for joining us.
See you next time. All right, so have you ever had like an amazing book idea,
Yeah.
like just brewing in your mind,
Oh, yeah.
but then the thought of like actually sitting down and writing the whole thing,
It can be.
it's a little
Good.
daunting. Yeah. So that's what we're going to be looking at today in this deep dive.
Okay.
We are checking out how to write a book in 7 days
Hmm.
without overwhelming yourself.
All right.
Now, I know what you might be
7
thinking.
days.
7 days, right?
It's
Well,
pretty
a
impossible.
lot of people
It's
think that.
definitely, yeah, and you know what?
It's a bold claim.
It is a bold claim.
It is.
But even if you're not trying to, like, you know, break some kind of land speed record for book writing, I think there are actually some really, really practical tips in the source that we can all use.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. So let's jump right in.
Okay.
Day one is all about planning,
Planning,
which, it might be tempting to just like dive right into the writing,
right, to get going.
get those words.
Get it out. But the source really emphasizes the importance of taking the time to plan first.
Mm-hmm.
Have you found that to be true in like your writing process?
Oh, absolutely. Without a plan, you can get lost really easily. I always think of it like setting off on a road trip, but you don't have a map and you don't even know where you're going.
Right.
You might end up somewhere interesting, but it's probably going to take you a lot longer and
Yeah, you're going to
waste a lot of gas. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so let's break it down then in terms of like book writing.
Mm.
What are some like essential elements of a solid plan?
Well, first off, you have to figure out, who you're writing this book for.
Okay.
What are their interests, their needs? What are they hoping to get out of this book?
So your target audience,
That's
basically.
your target audience, exactly.
Okay.
And then you have to get clear on what your main point is.
Yeah.
What's the core message that you want your readers to take away?
Okay.
Once you have those two things, then you can start outlining the structure of the book and like mapping out the chapters.
Okay, so this actually makes me think of something that I struggle with sometimes.
What's that?
I feel like I have like too many ideas
Okay.
and I don't know which ones to focus on.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever run into that kind of like creative overwhelm?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think a lot of creative people deal with that.
Yeah.
One thing I like to do is just brainstorm all my ideas, and then I try to group them into themes or categories.
Okay.
That helps me see like the bigger picture, and then I can see which ideas are the strongest and which ones I should maybe save for a different project.
That's a really cool tip. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And, it kind of reminds me of that whole, like, kill your darlings advice. Sometimes you got to let go of an idea, even if you're, like, really attached to it.
Exactly. And sometimes darlings can live on in a different project.
Right.
You're not getting rid of them for good.
Right. It's just not the right time or the right place
Right.
for this particular project.
Exactly.
Okay, so for all you listeners out there, I want to hear from you. What's a book that you would love to write?
Oh, yeah.
And who would be, like, your ideal reader for that book?
Good question.
Yeah, tell us in the comments below. We love hearing about all the creative projects that you guys are working on.
It's so inspiring.
Okay, so moving on to day 2.
Right.
The source is all about setting realistic goals.
Okay.
What's your take on that?
I think it's crucial for any big project, and especially something like writing a book.
Mm-hmm.
If you set unrealistic expectations, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment.
Totally. I think that happens to me a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we avoid that then?
Well, I think it's all about breaking down that big goal into smaller, more manageable steps.
Okay.
The sort of word counts,
Okay.
or maybe you dedicate a certain amount of time to writing each day.
Mhm.
Have you tried those?
I have. I've done the daily word count thing, and I find that it really, really helps me
Yeah.
to stay consistent. Because even if I can only get like 500 words in a day,
Right.
it's still something,
It's still moving forward.
and it makes me feel like I'm making progress.
Yeah, I totally get that.
What about you? Do you have any like tips for setting realistic writing goals?
For me, it's more about time blocking.
Okay.
I'll actually block out time in my calendar, like it's an important meeting.
Yeah,
And that helps me make sure that I'm actually...
that's a great idea.
Yeah,
And I think it's so interesting.
yeah,
And I think it's so interesting how we both have different approaches,
yeah,
but ultimately it's about finding what works for you,
absolutely.
right? So for all of you listening out there, have you faced a similar situation in your own work?
Yeah, let us know.
How do you break down large tasks?
Tell us in the comments.
Yeah, we want to hear from you.
Right.
All right, but day 3 brings us something new and I think pretty interesting.
Oh, what's that?
It's tools and resources. What's your take on using tools to help with your writing?
The rise of AI writing tools these days,
Mm-hmm.
it's a really interesting conversation to be having.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is it cheating to use AI to use AI.
Right. Exactly. I agree. It's all about shifting your perspective
Oh, wow.
and thinking of these tools as assistants.
Absolutely. They can help us with things like grammar.
Hmm.
They can even help us structure our writing.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, it's still our voice and our ideas that are driving the whole process.
exactly.
Okay, so the source specifically mentions a couple of tools.
Oh, which?
Scrivener
Okay.
and Microsoft Word.
Those are classics.
Yeah, and I think both of them can be super helpful for like organizing your thoughts,
Right.
managing all your revisions, and ultimately just like getting your book ready to go.
Yeah, totally. And, they don't have to be like fancy or expensive either. Even just using like a note-taking app
Yeah,
or some mind mapping software can be really helpful.
totally. Okay, so this brings us to day 4, which is all about time management.
Time management.
The source says it's really important to dedicate consistent time to writing,
Hmm.
even if it's just for like an hour a day.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think consistency is so much more important than trying to like
Right.
cram a whole bunch of writing into one day.
Right.
It's much better to do a little bit each day.
Yes, like working out or
Yeah.
learning a new language.
Totally.
Those short, consistent bursts of effort,
Yeah,
they really add up
they do.
over time.
Much more so than like
Right.
those big marathon sessions.
And it's not just